championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Hello, Lakers Nation. Trevor Lane here for LakersNation.com. This is the LakersNation.com podcast. This is a bonus edition. This time of year, typically wouldn't have a podcast coming out on a Saturday, but yesterday the Lakers announced that they have signed Dennis Schroeder, brought him back to the team, $2.6 million deal, good for 1 year. And this announcement has created more questions than answers. I've got a lot of them, and honestly, I can't shut my brain off. As I'm recording this, it's late Friday, early Saturday, and there are so many different things that I've got pinging around in my head about what we can infer from the Lakers adding Dennis Schroeder and how this roster is actually going to play together, what Darvin Ham has to work with. All of this, of course, wrapping up to the big question: what are the Lakers doing? What is this roster that they're trying to put together? What's the identity of this team? What is it exactly that they're going for? And there's a lot of other things that get wrapped up in that. Are they going to make a trade here? Why is Dennis Schroeder suddenly a Laker? We've got a lot to talk about. So what I've done is I've compiled all of the reporting around this story, and there's been a pretty decent amount of it to try to get some type of sense. And I've done a little bit of checking on my own as well as to what's actually happening here with your Los Angeles Lakers. So I'm going to dive into that. Before I do, though, let me preface this here by saying that in a vacuum, I like the addition of Dennis Schroeder. I think from a value perspective, this is fantastic. So before I start diving into all of the problems that this creates, I think from a value perspective, this is great. Dennis Schroeder, $2.6 million on a team where, frankly, you've got a lot of question marks. You don't know how many real NBA players, guys who are ready to play major rotation minutes, you've got on this roster. Troy Brown Jr., I like him. Interesting signing. You've got some upside there. Are you 100% sure that he's ready to play 20 to 25 minutes a night in the NBA, night in and night out? No. You need guys that you know are ready to come in and contribute, and Dennis Schroeder is that. And at $2.6 million, you're not getting a player of his caliber typically at that price range. So it's a one-year deal, and the Lakers already have the majority of their roster on one-year contracts. That could be a concern, a challenge for Darvin Ham to try to work around all of these guys that are essentially playing for their next deal. And Schroeder included. Remember, that was an issue a couple of seasons ago. Schroeder playing for his next contract. And of course, he got that contract offer from the Lakers and infamously turned it down, that 4-year, $84 million deal. Obviously, he's probably regretting that at this point. But nevertheless, let's get into this whole situation and see what exactly is going on. To kick things off, let's take a look at the Lakers roster as it currently stands, broken it down by position. Yes, right now you're watching on the YouTube channel. You can see what I'm talking about because I've got some visuals up here. We'll go through this whole thing. If you're listening to the podcast version, I know, not great podcasting if I've got visuals up for just the YouTube channel, but I will try to talk through everything as well so that you aren't missing out. But the Lakers roster as it currently stands, this is how I see things. You can quibble over whether someone is really a shooting guard or a small forward or whatever. I think we're getting to a point in the NBA where these positional designations really don't matter all that much. Its skill set matters more. But nevertheless, point guard, you've got Russell Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder, and Kendrick Nunn. Those are your point guards right now on the roster. Shooting guard, you've got Patrick Beverley, which we're going to talk about whether or not he's actually a shooting guard in just a bit, Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, and Max Christie. Now, of that list, Max Christie, I just pretend he's not even there. He's a rookie. I'm going to assume he's not going to play many minutes at all. Austin Reeves last year, getting a lot of minutes. That's the outlier. Don't expect that to be the norm. Don't expect to see Max Christie a lot. So when we're looking at the logjam at the guard position, just leave out Max Christie. Don't even worry about him right now. If he somehow plays his way into minutes, great, but I certainly am not expecting it. Small forward, you've got LeBron, Troy Brown Jr. Power forward, you've got Anthony Davis, Juan Toscano Anderson, and Wenyen Gabriel. And then at center, you have Thomas Bryant and Damian Jones. Again, you can quibble over what order I list the players in or whether, is Lonnie Walker actually a 3 or is he a 2? Same thing with Austin Reeves. Could Troy Brown Jr. be a 4? There's lots of different movements you can make in there. But that's just basically the roster as it is currently set up. So with that being the case, it's pretty clear that it's overloaded at the guard position looking at that, especially when we consider that really of those 7 guards, the only one that you can say probably doesn't get many minutes there, if any, is Max Christie. So Lonnie Walker, you just went and paid your full taxpayer mid-level, the biggest amount of money that you could pay a player went to Lonnie Walker. I've got him third on the shooting guard depth chart right now. That suggests that most nights he's not even getting onto the floor, unless you want to slide him down to be a 3, or maybe Reeves does. That's a challenge. Just looking at this Lakers roster right now, it's a challenge trying to figure out how that's going to work. So knowing that you've got this logjam at the guard position, why did Dennis Schroeder choose the Lakers? We've heard from the reporting that's out there from Shams Charania, Dennis Schroeder had options. And Keith Smith and I talked about this on Thursday on the front office show, that the buzz was that Dennis Schroeder had a number of NBA teams that saw what he was doing at Eurobasket and were interested in signing him. He was playing for Germany. They liked what he was doing. They became interested in signing him this season. So Shams Charania specifically said the Phoenix Suns, the Toronto Raptors were the teams that were interested in signing Dennis Schroeder. So why would Schroeder pick the Lakers? Knowing that you've got that logjam that I just showed at the guard spot in particular, knowing that minutes might be tough to come by, and you've got two teams which project to win more games than the Lakers do, the Phoenix Suns and the Toronto Raptors. I know a lot of people are scratching their heads over that. Well, let's get into it. So Dennis Schroeder himself gets onto Instagram and says, this past year didn't feel right. I felt misunderstood and nobody really knew the story. I'm coming back to the biggest organization to make stuff right. I hope Lakers Nation is going to support me every single day. I will give everything I have every single day. It's an honor to play for the Lakers. Can't wait to get started. Okay. So he's saying he wants to kind of right the wrongs of the past, that it didn't feel right this past season. He was with the Boston Celtics, then with the Houston Rockets, saying it didn't feel right. Okay, that's fine. He wants to right past wrongs. I tend to believe there's going to be a little bit more to it than just that, right? Especially for a guy that's on an expiring contract that maybe begrudgingly has to accept a veteran minimum when just, 2 years ago could have had, less than that, could have had an $84 million contract. There's got to be more to it than just, well, I feel bad about what happened then. But then we get this reporting from The Athletic that says, this is from Jovan Buha and Sam Amick, yet while the Lakers have been hopeful that the Westbrook experiment might be a success this time, sources with knowledge of the situation told The Athletic that the prospect of Westbrook coming off the bench is being strongly considered. At a minimum, it seems clear Westbrook will have to outplay new addition Patrick Beverley and Schroeder if he's going to retain his starting role. It goes on to say that Darvin Ham has the full backing of the organization and is ready and willing to make whatever difficult rotation decisions might lie ahead in the interest of team success. Now, earlier in the evening, Mark Medina, friend of the show, did put out a tweet saying that Schroeder's agent had informed him that he was told that there would be plenty of minutes to go around. Now, Mark has since deleted that tweet. So again, I'm going to assume he deleted that for a reason. But the bottom line is that Dennis Schroeder clearly thinks there's going to be an opportunity here. And what we just read from The Athletic suggests that it could even be a starting job. That's something that the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul don't have to offer. That's something that Fred VanVleet is making sure that the Toronto Raptors don't have to offer. So when you're comparing these situations and we say, well, why would Dennis Schroeder go into this situation where you become a Laker, but you've got a super crowded backcourt? How are you going to find the minutes? There might be a starting job that's up for grabs here. There might be a starting job that is up for grabs. In fact, The Athletic goes on to say, assuming Westbrook isn't traded anytime soon, and there are strong indications he won't be, and I'm going to get into that in a minute as well, final determination will be most dependent on how training camp and preseason takes shape. Lakers are expected to have several other battles for starting roles, including Lonnie Walker versus Austin Reeves at the shooting guard, Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones at center. Only James and Anthony Davis will enter camp with a starting role intact. There you go. So when we look at why would Dennis Schroeder pick the Lakers? Yeah, there probably is some sense of let's right this wrong of the past. Let's fix things. Let's smooth things over and go back to the Lakers and try to do it right this time. But also, there is a starting job that's up for grabs. Very clearly, according to The Athletic, Russell Westbrook does not have a lock on the starting job for the Los Angeles Lakers. So the potential is there for Dennis Schroeder to win himself a starting role. Now, how much does he care about being a starter? Remember, he had the infamous quote when he first became a Laker about how badly he wanted to be a starter and how he saw himself as a starter. Is that something that still matters to him? Or is he now at a point in his career where it doesn't matter whether he's coming off the bench or starting? Hopefully it's the latter, because if it's the former and he doesn't win the starting job, which I would still project that Russell Westbrook will start, but nevertheless, the position is up for grabs according to what's being reported here. If Dennis Schroeder doesn't get that job, does that then create a problem or not? I think that's going to be something that's important, but it makes sense if you're Dennis Schroeder. You potentially, despite the minutes limitations that you could have, there could be a crunch there. Nowhere else can offer a potential starting role than the Lakers if they've made the decision that Russell Westbrook does not have a lock on the position. He does not automatically get to start. This will be the first time in a long time, since maybe going back to Russell Westbrook's rookie season, that's been the case. So I think that explains why Dennis Schroeder may have chosen the Lakers. You've got a few factors at play there. But now, how does Darvin Ham do this? How do you play all of these guards together? And let me say this. I don't think there's a good answer here. I think this roster is a mess. I think it is screaming for a trade. And I've said it many, many times on many shows. This roster is begging for a trade, and we'll get to the potential that a trade could be coming in just a moment. But if you're Darvin Ham and this is the roster that you have, what are you going to do? I think there is some reporting here to explain this. And before I get too deep into it, I want to mention this as well. It's September. Nobody's played any games yet. What tends to happen this time of year, August, September, before preseason starts, anything like that, everybody across the NBA is looking at the rosters and saying, oh, we've got a deep team. Just about everybody's going to say, okay, maybe not Thunder fans and, the tanking teams or whatever, but teams that are trying to be competitive. Fans across the board will say, well, we've got good depth. Why? Because we look at players and we assume that they're all going to hit their ceiling. They're all going to be what we hope they're going to be, right? They're all going to be healthy. They're all going to click. Everything's going to work. As you get into the season, you find out that that's just about never true. That doesn't always happen. So as we look at this roster crunch and we say, how can Darvin Ham actually play all these guys? Some of that might sort itself out just naturally, right? Somebody doesn't click, just doesn't work. So they're not deserving of minutes. Or somebody gets hurt. Look, Patrick Beverley's been hurt quite a bit. We've seen that. LeBron's been hurt. Anthony Davis has been hurt. A lot of these guys. Kendrick Nunn missed the entire season. How confident are the Lakers that he can even play a minute for them this season? And that could also explain why the Lakers decided to go get Dennis Schroeder, that he gives them that extra insurance in case Kendrick Nunn isn't able to go. Now, in his statement, Rob Pelinka mentioned, the defensive intensity that Dennis Schroeder brings and all of those things. And that's true. But how much of this could be just be protecting themselves in the event that there's a trade or another injury? So while it looks very logjam right now, just keep in mind that once the regular season starts up, it's possible that some of these things kind of sort themselves out. That said, looking at this Lakers roster, again, here it is. Westbrook, Schroeder, and Nunn are your point guards. Beverley, Reeves, Walker, Christie are the two. LeBron, Troy Brown Jr., Anthony Davis, Juan Toscano Anderson, Wenyen Gabriel, Bryant, Jones, okay, at the center position. That's your Lakers roster right now. Again, not everybody's going to work out. They're not. Not everybody's going to work out. Mark Stein then throws this wrinkle in. And this is what threw everybody for a loop. And this, honestly, is probably what sparked most of my questions around this situation. Mark Stein. The lineup decisions to come will be Darvin Ham's, league sources say. That's important. Front office isn't going to tell Darvin Ham, no, you can't bench Russ. No, you can't play that guy here. No, you can't do this or that. Darvin Ham, he's got control. The Lakers, they gave him a 4-year deal. He's got the power. Russ, you want to bring Russ off the bench? Cool. You can bring Russ off the bench. You can do that. But as it stands on September 16th, the Lakers head to training camp viewing Westbrook and Schroeder as lead guards, Patrick Beverley as a 2-guard alongside Kendrick Nunn, and Austin Reeves as a 3 behind LeBron James. Oh my. That changes so much of the way we're viewing this team. Remember, this is what a lot of people had in our heads. Maybe Patrick Beverley at a 2. Maybe he's your 1. Maybe he's replacing Russ. But Reeves is a 2. Schroeder is a 1. Westbrook is a 1. Nunn is a 1. That's the way we're seeing this. According to Mark Stein, that's not how the Lakers are seeing this. Instead, the Lakers see their roster as Westbrook and Schroeder are competing for the starting point guard job. Those are your 2 point guards. And it makes sense to some degree because those are probably your 2 best creators. Kendrick Nunn can create as well, mostly creates his own shot. Suppose you could say that's also true of Dennis Schroeder, but these are your 2 guys that can go out there and create offense, is Westbrook and Dennis Schroeder. And remember, Westbrook and Schroeder have already played together in OKC. So this is actually how the Lakers, according to Mark Stein, are seeing this roster. Now, again, keep in mind, training camp hasn't happened. If anybody says this is the definitive Lakers rotation, right? They don't know what they're talking about. Because Darvin Ham doesn't know exactly what the rotation is going to be just yet. He can have some ideas. They can have some thoughts, some concepts of what it's going to be moving in. But that doesn't necessarily mean once the ball is live, that's what it's really going to be, because training camp can change a lot of that. Now, the shooting guard, Patrick Beverley. I've got Lonnie Walker in there, Kendrick Nunn, Max Christie. That's your 2. There's still 4 players at the 2. That's a lot. Now, we've beefed up the small forward position by sliding Reeves down, backing up LeBron. So you have LeBron, Reeves, Troy Brown Jr. Power forward, you've got Anthony Davis, Juan Toscano Anderson, Wenyen Gabriel. Center, Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones. There's some problems with this. And a lot of it has to do with size, the size of your roster. So when you look at this, what is being implied is that if it's set up as is, say Westbrook and Beverley are your starters. That's tiny. Patrick Beverley is 6'1". Westbrook is 6'3", 6'4". Schroeder is 6'3". That's tiny. Even Lonnie Walker, 6'4". Kendrick Nunn's not a big guy. That is a tiny backcourt. What all of this adds up to is that the Lakers, based on current reports, again, maybe this changes by the time we get through training camp, but the Lakers are preparing to play a lot of small ball. That concerns me. I'll be honest. That just concerns me. That worries me because how many times did we see last season where they played small and it burned them, where they struggled on the boards because you've got, Wayne Ellington trying to defend wings? That doesn't work that well. Now you're talking about potentially a lineup. Let's say LeBron goes out and your backups are in. Then you're talking about what? Dennis Schroeder, 6'3". Lonnie Walker maybe is 6'4". Austin Reeves is 6'5". That's your 1, 2, and your 3. That's not very big. Now let's say it's Juan Toscano Anderson at the 4. He's 6'6". That's not a very big lineup if you're the Lakers. You don't have a lot of size. The lack of wing size is very noticeable when you start to look at the lineup, particularly that way. When you're starting to take guards like Austin Reeves and slide them down and make them wings. Now, again, Austin Reeves is 6'5". I think he can play that spot. But I think there's another problem here that we need to address. And that's Austin Reeves. Are we really relegating Austin Reeves to the whatever minutes are left over at small forward that LeBron doesn't play there? Is that what they're going to do? Now, maybe you could argue, okay, JTA, Juan Toscano Anderson, maybe Troy Brown Jr. doesn't play much. When Gabriel didn't play much, LeBron spent some minutes at power forward. That opens up some minutes at small forward. I don't know if we should look at Austin Reeves, though, as a guy that just gets backup minutes. I'd been penciling him in as a starter, and for good reason. All we've heard from the Lakers practice facilities so far is how good he's been, how he's been one of the best players there. So through training camp, if that continues, I would have to project that Austin Reeves is going to get more minutes. So maybe that shifts things again. But as is, you're looking at Austin Reeves getting not very many minutes because of the way the roster is being looked at right now. Or perhaps Lonnie Walker. And if Lonnie Walker's getting those backup shooting guard minutes, does that mean Kendrick Nunn is not in the picture? Again, you're going small and you're sliding players down out of necessity because of the wonky nature of this roster. Now, that being said, how small will the Lakers actually be? Check this out. This comes from the LA Times. Dan Woike. Sources said the Lakers hope to use Beverley as a defender against top-level wings. I'll read that again. Beverley as a defender against top-level wings. He's 6'1". While using a player like Schroeder to chase high-movement point guards, such as Ja Morant and Stephen Curry, the team, though, will undoubtedly have to use small lineups as currently constructed. Defensively, they are viewing, according to this, again, this can all change in training camp, but defensively, they're viewing Patrick Beverley as a wing. I don't have a huge problem with that in certain situations. I think you can get away with it for sure. Patrick Beverley, look, he's 6'1", but he's also made a career out of being a very good defender. He's defended wings before. I don't think it's that bad on the surface. But if this is a night in, night out, Patrick Beverley is your wing defender, Paul George is on the floor. Luka is on the floor. These guys who are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", these are the guys. Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum. These are the guys that Patrick Beverley is going to be asked to defend. Oh, that's asking a lot. That's given up a lot of size on the wing. But according to Dan Wojcicki, that's how the Lakers are viewing things. Again, trying to make sense of the Schroeder addition. If Patrick Beverley defensively is not a guard, then a Schroeder starts to make more sense. And we start to see a Lakers team that is going smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, Dennis Schroeder chasing around high movement point guards. Yeah, Dennis Schroeder's pretty quick. He's 6'3", doesn't weigh that much. He's a pretty quick guy. He's not the best defender in the world. Sometimes his size is an actual detriment. Teams pick on him because of his size, but he can chase some guys around. He can chase Steph Curry. He's better equipped to chase a Steph Curry than Russell Westbrook is. So he gives you that quick guard that can at least put some pressure on the ball, and he hustles. I'll say that too. He hustles. Dennis Schroeder, he's not a good defender, but he tries. He puts forth the effort. He doesn't give up on the defensive end of the floor. He gets after it. Doesn't make him good at it, but he gives you everything that he's got there, and that's going to matter. That does matter. So it makes sense in that way. Schroeder can go chase the quick guards. Beverley, 34 years old. Typically, the older you get, you slide up a position or two because guys get slower, but also physically, might get a little bit stronger. So Beverley going up against some of the bigger players, I don't have a problem with Beverley at the 2. In fact, I think that statistically, that's what the stats say, is that Beverley's not a 1 anymore. He's a 2. See, that was a lot of the thought process when Beverley became a Laker was, oh, he's replacing Russ. Now there's going to be a Russell Westbrook trade. Patrick Beverley slides in as your starting point guard. Well, according to Cleaning the Glass, last season, Patrick Beverley spent 55% of his minutes at shooting guard, 45% at point guard for the Wolves. So the majority, not by a ton, but the majority of his minutes were spent at the 2, playing alongside a guy like, say, D'Angelo Russell, who would act as the 1, the point guard. The Wolves, in the minutes where Patrick Beverley was a point guard, they were a minus 1.9 points per 100 possessions. They lost the minutes that Patrick Beverley was a point guard. Check this out, though. With Beverley as a 2 per 100 possessions, they're a plus 7.9. They're beating their opponents by almost 8 points per 100 possessions with Patrick Beverley as a 2. Patrick Beverley is no longer a point guard. That's what those stats say. So that does serve to clear a little bit of the logjam at the point guard position and explain why the Lakers may be looking at Schroeder versus Westbrook as the true point guard battle. Patrick Beverley, despite the mention earlier by The Athletic, is not in the mix to be the starting point guard. Again, training camp may change things. Beverley steps on the floor, clicks as a 1. Darvin Ham loves what he sees. Boom, Patrick Beverley's a 1. I'm saying going into camp, it appears that the Lakers don't see him as a 1. They see him as a 2, and a 2 that they can use to defend up a position, which means you can have him defend 3s. Now, what does all of this mean? Does this mean a trade is coming? That was the other reaction immediately. When this deal went down, the assumption was, well, okay, the Lakers now essentially have 4 point guards, right? Patrick Beverley, Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, and now you've got Dennis Schroeder. All four of them, if they're healthy, fingers crossed Kendrick Nunn, if they're healthy, are deserving of minutes. So this means a Russell Westbrook trade must be right around the corner, must be on the verge of happening. It's the same reaction we had when the Patrick Beverley trade went down. Well, the reporting says not so fast. In fact, what we've just covered is that the Lakers don't see Patrick Beverley as a 1, and they might see Kendrick Nunn as a 2 as well, regardless of how small that makes them. And again, I'm worried about that. I think you could be in for a rough season if you're too small out there on the floor. But check this out. Again, from The Athletic. Sam Amick, Jovan Buha. Imagine it's July 2023 and the Lakers are not only flush with enough free agency cash to add another maximum salary level player, but also in possession of their first round picks from 2027 and 2029. The same picks so many people are expecting them to give up as part of a Russell Westbrook trade. Once seemed so inevitable, but never happened. According to a high-level Lakers source, we can all guess as to who that might be. Their refusal to do Westbrook deals with Indiana and Utah that have been discussed in various capacities for months has everything to do with this hopeful vision for their future beyond this season. Goes on. As uncomfortable as this Westbrook experience has been, and might yet still be, this best-case scenario outlook is the driving force behind their surprising choice to pass up chances to part ways with Westbrook. In the absence of a deal they truly believe returns them to a title contender status, sources say Westbrook is highly likely to remain. So, what this all comes down to on the trade front, this does not mean, the Dennis Schroeder addition does not mean that a trade is coming. In fact, it's now even more likely that a trade doesn't happen. The closer we inch to training camp, it becomes that much more likely that a trade simply does not happen. It's not necessarily because of the presence of Dennis Schroeder. In fact, if anything, the Lakers are incredibly prepared for a Russell Westbrook trade. You can now trade Russell Westbrook for any position. You don't have to trade him for a point guard. If the Lakers were concerned about Kendrick Nunn's injury history and they're viewing Patrick Beverley as a 2, you could say, well, they need to get a point guard back in a deal. No longer the case. No longer the case. Now you've got Kendrick Nunn, again, fingers crossed, stay healthy. Patrick Beverley, maybe you want to use him at a 2, but he could do it. He could play a 1. Austin Reeves can handle the ball. LeBron can handle the ball. Now you also have Dennis Schroeder. If you find a trade for Russell Westbrook and you're getting a 3 and a 4 back, cool, go ahead. No problem. You can manage that situation very easily if that's what comes up. However, this is saying that that's not what the Lakers are looking to do. And we've heard that the Lakers were only willing to give both first-round picks for a deal in which they get something that will make them a championship contender. This is taking this a step further. If we buy what this report from The Athletic is saying, it's saying that the Lakers, unless the deal makes them a championship contender, it's not about 2 firsts. Unless the deal makes them a championship contender, they're not interested. They would rather go into next summer with cap space. Now, The Athletic says they will have be able to add another maximum salary level player, not a Kyrie level max, like a rookie, a guy coming off a rookie contract, that kind of max. They might have $30 million, maybe, and that's if they make some very difficult choices. That's if they trade away their draft pick this year and don't take back salary in return. That's if, depending on what they do with Austin Reeves, his qualifying offer, do they move Max Christie? What happens with all these other pieces? It's tough, but they can kind of get there. More likely, they're going to have a decent amount less than $30 million. So I would stop short of saying they have a full max level salary here, but it sounds like the Lakers are looking to go into next summer with both picks plus cap space plus your 2023 draft pick. Let's not forget about that. The night of the draft, the second the Lakers, and they'll have a 2023 pick. The Pelicans have pick right swaps, pick swap rights. Let me flip that. So the Pelicans, if the Pelicans pick is better than the Lakers pick, then the Pelicans won't do anything, right? If it's not, then they'll swap it and the Lakers will get the weaker pick, the worst pick. That's the way that's set up. But regardless, the Lakers will have a pick. So on draft night, as soon as the Lakers use that pick to select a player, they can trade it, and they can even have it prearranged. We've seen them do that in the past. So the Lakers on draft night could have cap space with which maybe to absorb a salary. Maybe they don't just use it in free agency. Maybe they absorb a salary. Plus 3 first-round picks available to trade. The 2023 pick, 2027, 2029. That's the scenario the Lakers are looking at. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, but what about LeBron? Isn't that wasting a season of LeBron? Well, clearly the Lakers think that this roster, as small as it might be, might give them opportunities to do some things, or that the things they'd be getting back, whether it's Bojan Bogdanovic, Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, if we're talking a Jazz deal, Malik Beasley. We've heard they're interested in Bogdanovic, Beasley, Clarkson, these kinds of guys. Maybe they just feel like that's not enough. And if that's the case, then we're not talking about 1 pick versus 2 picks. This is making it sound as though the Lakers, it's not necessarily about not wanting to give up both picks. It's about the opportunity cost of being able to do something bigger next summer. If that's the case, then the Jazz saying, well, we'll do it for 1 first, may not matter. It might be a no from the Lakers regardless. If the Lakers look at what the Jazz, now look, we've heard rumors that they've been continuing to have talks with the Jazz. That tells you there's at least some interest from the Lakers side. So I don't know if I completely buy this, but this is implying that even if the Jazz said, okay, 1 first, the Lakers might not be interested. That they're looking to do something without having to include a pick so that they can have those picks next summer to use. Again, though, could this also be the Lakers trying to soften the market a little bit, trying to make it clear that, oh, no, we are, even though we got Schroeder, we are definitely ready to go into the season with Russell Westbrook. I don't think that's what this is. I don't think that this is just a smoke screen. I don't think that this is a leverage play. We're too close to training camp for that. A Russell Westbrook trade can still happen, but it seems like the Lakers are very comfortable going into the season with Russell Westbrook on the roster and planning to do so. Maybe that's what they want everybody to hear. Maybe that's what they want everybody to believe. That's what they think is going to get them the best deal. That could still be going on here. But the closer we get to training camp, the more credibility I'm giving to this idea that even with Dennis Schroeder coming, even with all of these guards on the roster, it still is not going to result in a Russell Westbrook trade as of this moment. Maybe that changes by the trade deadline, but the Lakers are drawing the line in the sand at, does this deal turn us into a contender? And if the answer is no, then that's it. Then they're not interested in doing that particular trade. Interesting to consider. Now, what are the Lakers doing with this roster? For this season, what are they doing? They're putting together this hodgepodge roster, and it almost appears that they are, whatever phrase you want to use, running out the clock, punting on the season. It looks like what the Lakers are doing is they are preparing for making a big move next summer. In terms of how they're looking at this roster, I think they are looking at it differently than most people do. Doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean other people are right. But here's how they're actually looking at the roster. I've got the roster listed out again. I've already gone over it a bunch of times. Westbrook, Schroeder at the 1, Beverly, Walker, Nunn, Christie at the 2, LeBron, Reeves, Brown at the 3, Anthony Davis, Juan Toscano Anderson, Wendy Gabriel at the 4, Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones at the 5. And again, there's plenty of flexibility within there. What the Lakers may be looking at, though, is not so much at that, just listing them out by position. Instead, list the players by who they defend. Because when you do it that way, when you look at it as here's the 1s, here's the 2s, here's the 3s, it looks very top-heavy at the guard spots. It looks like, oh my gosh, there's this huge logjam. If the Lakers are really saying we are going to be more than okay with playing small, then you're not looking so much at what position nominally a player plays on offense. Instead, you're looking at who can these guys defend? Who are we going to ask these players to defend? And if that's the case, then this is how it actually breaks down. And this is how I think the Lakers might be seeing this. Your guards. In other words, these are the players you're going to ask to defend guards. Westbrook, Schroeder, Nunn, Walker, Christie. The players you're going to ask to defend wings. LeBron, Reeves, Patrick Beverley, Juan Toscano Anderson, Troy Brown Jr. Your bigs, guys you're going to ask to defend bigs. Anthony Davis, Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones, Wenyen Gabriel. A lot more balanced when we look at it that way, isn't it? A lot more balanced when we look at who the players are going to be asked to defend. Now, I'm not saying that this is wise because, again, Austin Reeves is 6'5". Do you want him defending a 6'8" Paul George? Is that even his best attribute? Is that the best way to use him? Patrick Beverley is 6'1". Juan Toscano Anderson and Troy Brown Jr. are both 6'6". They can defend wings, but how often are you going to ask them to go and defend a big, a 4, say, in order to do that, that's acting as a wing? You're going to be vastly undersized. But if the Lakers have come to terms with, we can't find the big wings that this roster needs, so therefore, we're going to take the most skilled players that we can get and put together that have some energy, on in terms of younger legs that bring it defensively. Again, Dennis Schroeder just turned 29. Happy birthday, Dennis Schroeder, just a couple of days ago. You've got some guys with some fresh legs that are going to get out there and get after it, and you're going to concede that you're going to be at a size disadvantage on the wings at times, potentially at the 2 spot as well. You'll be at a size disadvantage. You're going to concede that. You're going to move forward with this team as is, understanding that there'll be some size concerns, some shooting concerns, but you're going to make the best of it by running your team this way. Patrick Beverley gets to defend wings. Austin Reeves gets to defend wings. You piece things together and off you go. I think that's what the Lakers are actually doing with this roster. And I think we are in now for a season of small ball. Once again, let me issue this disclaimer. Training camp could change a lot. Darvin Ham, first-year head coach. He hasn't coached a lot of these guys before. He's coached Dennis Schroeder before. He can have a plan going into training camp, and this may be it. That doesn't mean that's going to be the plan heading out of training camp. That doesn't mean that's going to be the plan heading out of preseason or the midway point of the season or whatever. All of this can change and should change. Darvin Ham can already have some ideas in his head of how players are going to be utilized, but once you see them get on the floor, you have to adapt to that new information that's coming in. So again, disclaimer, this may be the way the Lakers are seeing things right now. Doesn't mean it's going to be the way they're seeing things when the season actually starts up. We'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But as of this moment, it appears that this is what the Los Angeles Lakers are doing. This is the best I can do to make heads or tails to what is actually going on here and what it is that the Lakers are doing. Get ready to see Patrick Beverley defending wings, Austin Reeves being asked to defend wings as well. Now, a lot you can do within there in terms of roles. Is Patrick Beverley going to initiate the offense at all? Is Austin Reeves going to initiate the offense? What about Kendrick Nunn? Is Dennis Schroeder an initiator? Certainly probably is. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. LeBron's going to have the ball a lot. How do you put all that together? There's still tons of pieces to assemble. But in terms of making this roster make sense, this is the best that I can do in terms of assembling this the way I think the Lakers are seeing things and answering the question as to why they've got so many guards. I think ultimately it's because some of these guys, they're not truly going to use as guards. All right, Lakers Nation. I think that's it. I think I have emptied all the thoughts that I've been having bounce around in my head about this Lakers roster. I can't wait for these guys to get on the floor. October 3rd, let's just fast forward because I want to see what all of this looks like out there on the court. Again, I would not totally dismiss the possibility of a Russell Westbrook trade, but it sure feels like that is not the way this is heading. So let's get these guys on the court, get through training camp, and off we go. We are now counting down the weeks. We are just, about a week away from training camp. Lakers Nation, thank you guys for sticking with me through all of this. Make sure you do subscribe to the Lakers Nation YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. And let me know in the comments section, what do you think about all of this? Are you on board with this plan? And do you think it could actually work? Let me know in the comments section. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.